Here I am. Sorry about that, Sonder family. My mouse was all wanky. Good morning. Happy Sunday. It's so good to see you. Katie and I are so proud of you for carving out this time. It's really, really good to see you. We've had a few days of flow in our life. We're digging in a little bit deeper. Make sure your chat is set to everyone. My name is Jennifer Ogilvy. I'll be your on-screen facilitator, and then hanging out in the chat is the fabulous and fun Katie Gideon. And so if you have any questions along the way, she should be able to answer it. Yeah, let's pick a little icon, a little summer icon, and we'll swipe for the self-care activity that you can put in your journal this week. And maybe you need a little bit of all of them, and you can go ahead and take those and pop those in your journal if that's what you flip-flops all day for sure. And it's got a nature walk, so it must be a slow nature walk if it's flippy flops. So yeah, maybe you need a little at-home spa day, 5-minute brain dump. That's your self-care. So it is really good to see you this morning. I have a few housekeeping announcements before we get going. Meha is asking if you are not already doing Sonder Coach, then please maybe give it a spin, do a little test drive, and then give Meha your unbiased opinions about if you like the experience, if you have any suggestions, if anything felt confusing or anything surprised you, because she is always wanting to make things better, better, better as we go along. So that's if you're not there. If you are doing Sonder coaching, I know you love it, but if you ever have any suggestions or ideas, also feel free to pop in and let hello at silkandsonder.com know. Send them an email or send an email to Meha Agrawal at silkandsonder.com with your feedback. All righty. So it's so good to see you. Yeah, Patsy, it is Patsy saying she just started Sonder Coach. It's day 3. It's amazing. And I'll tell you, I check in once a week. I felt like it was a little much for me to have more than one week. So I do a once a week check in, and then as needed, I'll go, back and maybe ask a question if I'm trying to sort things out. So, anyway, yeah, so there's that. And then beginning June 16th, we're going to offer a 7-day clarity reset challenge. And this will, just kind of help you. You'll have every day, there'll be about 10 minutes. And this is going to be led by Meha. And the payment, it is a paid event, but it starts at $5. And if you feel like, it's worth more to you, you're encouraged to do that. Kind of a pay as you wish sort of situation. So you'll want to check that out. But also on June 16th, in the evening is our mid-year reset, which is a free event. And it's going to be at 5 Pacific time, 8 Eastern. And that is also hosted by Meha Agara and then Maya Martin Glenn. One of our facilitators will be hanging in the chat with you. And I think doing a mid-year reset is amazing for all of us. We love to get our brand spanking new journals. We kind of have a little bit of a built-in reset every month when we get those fresh journals. But I will tell you, what you wanted for the year in January could look really different once we hit mid-year because life happened. And so this is just such a good time to align your goals, energy, and action, like it says. So I encourage you to sign up for this. Now, if you can't make it, still sign up because you'll get the direct, it's going to be recorded and all that, but you'll get an email saying, hey, we missed you, but here's the link. And you can go back and watch it via our YouTube channel. So make sure that you prioritize yourself as you revisit kind of what the last 6 months have brought your way and what you want for the next 6 months. All right, so there's our housekeeping. Anybody joining us for the first time, please put a me in the chat. Oh, Annie, I'm so glad that you have registered for that challenge. Yeah, y'all do it. Give yourself that little gift of a check-in. If you are here for the very first time, put a me in the chat so we can give you a big community welcome. Oh, Carla, I love that. Carla just said that enchantment, the theme of enchantment last year, and then hanging out with this idea of flow this year have been two of her favorites. So, yep, I love that. Indulgence was one of mine. That was, oh gosh, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, but it was really a mindset change for me. I love sometimes you just hit those themes that just scream at you. So, kind of a first time. Yeah, Pam, I recognize your name, but you're back. You're back in the groove. So yeah, there's the community guidelines that we share to keep these spaces safe and positive and to make sure that you are taking care of yourself. And then also just hanging out with some of the best people we know. Yeah, enchantment was pretty cool. And Patsy, if you are interested in enchantment, you can go look at our YouTube channel, and there's always a little search button there. If there's ever a theme that y'all want to kind of revisit on your own, and just put that theme in the search, and it'll pop up some of those journal prompt socials as well as all the setups. You could catch the mind maps going through those setups. So yeah, if there's ever, or maybe you're in a place where, you know what, I don't know what I believe right now. And like you go back and revisit those prompts from belief. So you can always do that and just work it in extra pages, that kind of thing. So that's just a pro tip there. They don't go away. They're on that YouTube channel hanging out. So we have been talking about flow. I'll be keeping this graphic up because I think it's such a great graphic to look at and understand flow. If you are looking at, where do I find my flow? The diagonal line, it's kind of hard to see, but it is green. And that's kind of that line of flow is where we find our sweet spot, right? The sweet spot is really all about finding flow. And it is a balance between feeling challenged in a good, positive way and alignment with our skills. Okay. So it's those two things when they meet and converge, beautiful things happen. So I was actually thinking about, finding flow, and this popped in my head. My husband and I went on a ski trip a million years ago, probably 30 years ago. And this was going to be our thing. We had already had our two kids, and we needed some reconnection. And it was like, skiing is going to be our thing. And he got out there and was like, this is just like skateboarding. It feels like skateboarding. I'm using my body this way. He loved it. He found his flow. And for me, it was such a challenge. I couldn't let go. I couldn't balance. I couldn't. It was awful. I'm not a skier. I will never be a skier. My job is to sit and have coffee by a fire whenever we're with snow. So I was thinking about what a challenge it was, and I did not have any skills to align with that new thing, that new challenge. And all skiing did for me was cause anxiety. Now he felt a good balance of challenge and using skills he had and found that sweet spot. So think about maybe something in your life that caused so much anxiety because you just couldn't get it. You couldn't lock in. That's like the opposite of flow. So anyway, there's that. And then I have this graphic too, the 8 components of flow, because this isn't something that just happens. There's a lot of things that have to like converge and come together. So you can see in the circle, all 8 of these things have to happen. It has to be self-rewarding, clear goals, and immediate feedback, which is really good for us to consider as we set goals in the week. Balance of challenge and skill, like I was saying. And then you kind of have a sense of potential control over it, right? Like it's about you. It's not about somebody else making you do something. Merging of action and awareness, focus, concentration, loss of self-consciousness, time distortion. We often say our time together in Sonder Club when we are here at a social, there's like time distortion. We get in the groove, we visit with our people, we are offering, support and advice and words of wisdom, and then woo, the hour's gone. And then it's a self-rewarding experience. So keep that in mind as you are unpeeling and digging into what flow looks like in your life. So our morning, we're starting with our week one of the flow mind map. If you happen to be here for the first time, Rochelle, be sure to set your chat to everyone so that you can respond to Carla. And also, y'all, if you do an update with your Zoom, you can actually go hover over someone's comment and directly comment to that, and it posts right there under their name. So be sure that you update yours. Don't do your update now. Do your update when we're done, but it's a new feature on Zoom. But Rochelle, we want to make sure that your comments are seen. Carla, she commented, great idea. So yeah, we're going to do the mind map, which is your bonus prompt for weekly setup. For coming to a weekly setup, there's going to be four. So I'll show you how I set my page up. Rosebud Thorn Reflection, and then the weekly setup's going to look a little different this morning. I've changed things up just for a little something new, and then we will end our time together. So you are invited to find that blank space in your journal. I'm going to give you a little extra time so that you can set up your page. Now, this could be done on the definition page. Maybe you're going to go week to week on your weekly scratch pad, a blank notes page. Maybe you repurpose something like your expense tracker. The I saw somebody do their flow acrostic on their turtle coloring page. I looked at that, and I think you could actually do the four corners for responses this week. It's kind of up to you. I did mine on the back page, so the very last page, it's real easy. Um, and Rochelle, sometimes that will default back to hosts and panelists. You got to keep an eye on it. It's so tricky. They're not. Oh, Android, maybe Christine, maybe if Android can't do it. Okay, you might need you you might need to like talk to Zoom about that. Like, hey, when can I do this? I want to talk to my people. So we want our page divided up into four pages, unless you're doing something like the weekly scratch pad. And a pro tip is we always say, grab a stencil around the house, or you could just do a plus or a big X. I'll show you. I actually did mine linear this month. My driver's license sometimes becomes the template for where I put my answers, a cookie cutter. I also keep a tuna fish can lid in my desk drawer so I can draw circles. So, however you want to set this up, and I'll share mine. So, here's our flow mind map. Fun fact, Katie was responsible for our questions this month, and you're going to love them. So we have 4 weeks. We have week one is current flow. Week two is break from the flow. So you already have the topics. Week three is around the flow. And week four is in the flow. So kind of giving you some teasers there. But week one's question is, if my energy moved like water, where would it naturally want to flow right now? And so you're going to need to do a little check in with yourself. I love the poetry that's in the corner, so take a moment to read that. And I want you to visualize yourself standing beside the river of your own energy and just simply observe where it wants to go. And this is that moment where you do a little self-check. Where is my energy? I feel like my energy's been lacking recently. That's something I've noticed. I haven't been in flow. I'll share my response to this question in a sec. So then, the question to maybe take this a little further is, if I stopped forcing energy in a particular direction, where would it naturally want to flow? And what could happen if I trust that movement? Think about maybe where your energy is already flowing with ease and aliveness, and maybe ask yourself how you can linger there a little bit longer. So I'll share mine. Um, and so this is, it's so funny that this is the question this week. I'm actually at our family's camp house, which is on a creek off of Lake Buchanan in Central Texas. And so I've put two pictures up here because I feel like it really captured kind of like there's this physical manifestation of what I've been feeling. Many of you know I lost my brother, who was my best friend, back at the end of March. So I've just been like in a deep grieving period. I'm not crying every day, but maybe 3 times a week now. But this, I mean, I'm here, I'm looking out at this creek. So the picture you see that's in the very middle there is August of 2024. And the picture you see on the right is August of 2025. So a year's difference. And I was looking at this creek and this flow, and you can see how full it is now. We can fish again, we can kayak, and it just felt, nope, you're right on time, Kimberly L. We are just starting our mind map. So, what I wrote was I feel like my energy is a bit like our creek. It's been a little evaporated and there hasn't been much movement as of late. However, fresh rains, which is for me represented a new perspective on a new normal, are we refilling the creek and giving it life again. The creek is waking up and returning to a gentle flow, finding its way back, changed for the future. And so that's sort of where my mind went with this. And y'all may remember last summer, last 4th of July, actually, Texas had terrible floods in central Texas. And it was bad. It was bad. And usually what's sad about that is, there's significant damage to communities that are affected. And so what I noticed is like something really devastating happened, and then that's why we have this water again. And it was something devastating that has now become beautiful. Yeah, Camp Mystic. That was the camp that lost lots of young girls. And one of those girls was actually in my daughter-in-law's school. So it really hit. And so this imagery for me that's so physical, it's like, for when I think about my brother passing away, dying, that's like that devastating thing. And then yet we're gonna fill those holes, and I know his struggles are over, and so my creek is filling back up. And so it just kind of resonated with me. That's where I went with this. So I'm gonna stop talking. I'll go back through these slides as you start checking in with self, finding out, where is my energy, what have I been giving my energy to, how am I spending my time, all that good stuff. I'm going to give you about 5 minutes so that you have time to set your page up. All righty. And then you can see I kind of did my flow across in the page there to set up the page physically. And give yourself space. If you feel like I'm not quite ready to address this, just set your space up, write the question down, let it flow in your mind as you kind of tap into where your energy is flowing. righty. I think we could, once we start thinking about our energy as this flowing water, we could write and get deeper and deeper and deeper. You start thinking about, just that physical body of water and then all the extra things that could come along with that. And you could just dive deeper and deeper. So, as you know, we have an hour together. So, if you didn't quite get all your thoughts down, come back to this. Write more as it kind of comes to you. But I love this check in with self. Water is one of our elements, and it's so important to us physically, but also when we can embrace that idea of its importance in our mind and our inner wellness. Checking in with our energy, where we go, how do we flow? It can be a very powerful metaphor. So, again, thank you for diving into that. Now we're going to do our first rosebud thorn reflection of the month in our June journal on page 30. And we're going to celebrate everything that the week brought your way, as well as, just kind of hanging out with those thorns and maybe finding our learnings from that. Rochelle. Okay, Rochelle's writing that, she feels like she's a deserted island. I'm so glad that you are here this morning. And you know what? We all have those seasons, and that's okay. So we need to get you some flowing water at that island, right? So I'm glad that you're here and you've got the support of the Sonder family. So let's start by looking at that rosebud thorn, and you could write to this as maybe your thorn, Rochelle, and figure out like what's next, what's not working, and what can be next. So we do look at those challenges of the week, the thorns that might come our way, what's not working, what was maybe a stumbling block or something that you had no control over that just caused some angst. Let's write that down, give it power by just leaving it on the paper if you can. I know many of Sonder family struggles with health issues. They're always there. They're not going away. And so, maybe write that thorn down and then what your takeaway is from that. Let's be in control of that challenge. The buds are those potential things that are coming our way. What could we try in our life? What are we excited about? It could be just a new week. It could be you may be thinking about Christmas. It's really what are you just what's giving you hope? And I always say, maybe draw a line around that box in color so that you can remind yourself there are good things coming on tough stuff. And then the rose. What was the best part of last week? What are you celebrating? What's going well? And you can see I've got the words Camp Grand Happy twice for my rose and my thorn. I kept my grandkids last week. We usually do 2 or 3 sessions in the summer where there's several days of spend the nights and that kind of thing. So it was definitely my rose. I could tell you a million stories about my silly little 8, 5, and 3-year-old grandkids, but I'm also pretty darn tired. It zapped my energy. And my bud is, I set a date for my girls' weekend. They're actually going to come out here to the cabin. And these are my Houston girls that I raised my kids with. And y'all know I relocated 6 years ago, so I don't see them as often. So we're going to have a little mama reunion, and I'm very excited about that. That's going to be in July. So that's my bud giving me hope and something to look forward to. Y'all share in the chat. Let's celebrate those roses. Let's get excited about those buds together, and let's hold space and support each other for the thorns that were maybe brought our way. love taking this moment for ourselves because we can really look back on the good things that life brought us, but also embrace those thorns and figure out, like, get a read on what's going on and where we do have some control over that. And oh, your son and you got sick on vacation. That stinks. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. But I'm proud of y'all for like sitting with this, realizing life's balance. So thank you for sharing and supporting one another. Now let's get going with that setup. I'm going to invite you, share this weekly setup in Sonder Club. We would so appreciate it. And as I said, I'm changing things up just a smidge. I won't do this every time, but I just wanted a little something different, pull out some ideas that maybe you could utilize somewhere in your setup. Oftentimes, we have these great graphics that we share with you sort of toward the end for that repurposing of page 2, where most of our the repurposing happens on the meal plan and the mind body health and the shopping list. And so we do a lot of different slides, but I thought, well, what if you wanted to use this on your first part of your setup, in your goals and your habits and your activities and your to-do. So here's how the morning is going to go. I'm going to be sharing a ton of inspiration slides. Then we'll go through our first page worth of setups. Like I'm going to show you just a few our goals, our to-dos, the habits, that stuff. And then we'll work on the first page. And then the second page, I'll go through examples of that, and I'll show you the same inspiration slides at the end. So your setup is going to be sandwiched with the same slides for inspiration. And so maybe something will pop up for you that like, oh, I want to try that. Or maybe you don't want to try it now. You know exactly what you're going to do today, but you may be thinking about something for later in the month, or even setting up, at for a different theme. So the first thing I want to talk about is on your Sonder Club app. We have bingo challenges every single month, and one is always going to be about just tackling the things in your journal, the prompts, filling your journal trackers out, those kind of things. But then there's also going to be a bingo around the theme. So you can see we've got two. We've got the Silk and Sonder, the June Silk and Sonder bingo challenge, and then the June Flow challenge. And so these are, again, you can, pull these up in Sonder Club. You just touch them when you do them. You get a little celebration when you get a bingo. But I also want to encourage you, this could be a great resource to fill in some of the spaces in your journal. So go check those out, because you might see some of these things showing up in your shopping list that you're repurposing to a bingo. Or maybe, you're doing something to celebrate yourself and you create a bingo. So this is a really good source for those things. You could also screenshot them on your phone, save them, and use them later in journals. So I love this. I like, look at June Flow. If one of your things this week is let the day unfold naturally, that's so chill and so flow. So there's that. And I'll go back through all of these while you're working on them. Okay, so also one of the bingos we have is to embrace this idea of an artist date. And there is a book called The Artist Way, and it's by Julie Cameron, and her quote is actually up there. Julia Cameron, and it's The Artist Way. And it's just about finding something every once in a while to help you tap into creative you. And that's going to be different for everybody. It doesn't necessarily have to be you do hobbies. It could be something like restyling one corner of your house, like you see on our artist date with yourself bingo. So these are really great things to pop in to help you find your flow, having little dates with yourself. I love that. I never know if you're Alana or Elena. I love that you just bought that. Yes, it's such a good book. So The Artist Way is amazing. But it's just basically taking yourself on a date. And I love that she says it's two parts. It's artist and date. So you choose something enchanting to you. I love that word enchanting. And you don't stand yourself up. Alana. Okay. Thank you, Alana. My Texas twang wants to put A's in there. All righty. So an artist date could be a really good way to set up your goals for the week or maybe some of your to-dos. We always have these great graphics with the 30-day challenges or these kind of calendars, bingo type boards. So perhaps this shows up somewhere. I'm using the Silk and Sonder 30 Days of Flow calendar, which you can get on Facebook or the Silk and Sonder Instagram page. I am putting that in my meal plan and I am using those as a daily reflection. So I've drawn around what this week's prompts are. So perhaps you incorporate that somewhere there. And then y'all remember summer reading program when you were kids, book it and you'd get a pizza or whatever. I'm saying we do our own little reading challenge. So give yourself some rewards. Start reading. It's so good for you. Audiobooks count. So if you're ever in a car, just have a book ready to go. Check out the Libby app, get your library card. But this list is from the New York Times book review, and it's their recommendation of some summer reading bucket list items. So, like read a book published in the last year, read a really short or a really, really long book, but maybe try to get that. And I realized I dropped a little, let's hold on, we got to fix that. I didn't catch that yesterday. We're going to move this little guy up there. I don't even know what happened there. But maybe some of those, listen to an audiobook. So maybe you create some little rewards for yourself. But look at how folks are using their journal to track reading. We've got a reading log. We are putting it in habit and activity tracker to make sure that we're doing daily reading. We've made bingos where we've got finishing a book or what I'm currently reading, just that acknowledgement. Y'all, I'm a reader, so I'm going to be a little biased here. Second page of inspiration. Again, another reading log, a repurposed expense tracker for the book list. Maybe this is what you do your summer reading log on. And then we've got this bucket list of bookish type things. So maybe some of those things will inspire you for your own summer reading program. And then give yourself a reward. Maybe you go get a pizza or a cappuccino or whatever floats your boat. I mentioned the spoon theory last week. I wanted to bring this up again. So, spoon theory is actually from the world of folks who suffer with chronic illness, and it's basically looking at the bank of energy that you have each day. And we can all benefit from acknowledging and incorporating this idea into our life. Let's say we start off our day with 10 spoons. Some days, showering and getting ready could take 1 spoon. Some days, if it's an off day, like if some of you feel like your energy's a little zapped, it could be something that takes 3 spoons. So then that tells you I've got 7 spoons left. I need to be gentle with myself today. I don't have the same level of energy that I have. So yes, Christine, I love that. She's shouting out that she uses that daily. And I love that in this person's to-do space, they wrote, remember your spoons. And so this could really be something that helps you monitor where your energy is flowing as we are embracing flow this month. Also, look at the little graphic over there, the little greenish one. It says, wash your spoons, sleep, eat, be gentle to yourself, draw on support from loved ones. All of those could go in a habit tracker, right? So, how do you wash your spoons and get reset? So, lots of these, and it's going to be different again for everybody. This idea from you can see a doctor's visit costing 3 spoons. For some folks, Katie and I were just talking about white coat syndrome. For other folks, it's nothing. Like I just go, it's no big deal, and it's 1 spoon. So you have to figure out your spoon usage. But I wanted to bring this up because as we are finding our flow, we need to be reminded of what we do and how it costs us. And so think of this idea of having spoons, a bank of spoons to start the day with. Of course, I've got an example in a minute of how someone has used this, but we're tapping into those good, happiness chemicals. So we're getting our dopamine, our oxytocin, our serotonin, our endorphins. There's lots of ways you can incorporate this in your journal. I have a habit tracker to show you that you've maybe seen before, but these are the things you want to look for as we are finding flow in our life. And then we're always talking about the content that we're taking in online, curating our content that we consume. We want to make sure that we are being mindful of that. We always talk about digital detoxing and digital decluttering. So, some of this could really help your mindset as you are on your phone, looking, scrolling, making those good choices. I love the distractions up here that I've circled distractions. It's about curating the content by replacing Facebook and Instagram with Sonder Club and journaling. Replacing gaming and game apps and Minesweeper with a hobby. Mindlessly checking email. Instead of doing that, we're replacing it with reading a research article. So, kind of balancing your phone usage in that way by having those other ways of, not sitting there mindlessly scrolling. And then there's also the idea of digital declutter. I've actually been working on my laptop and trying to put stuff in folders and that kind of stuff because I save a lot of stuff for Silicon Sonder and I just have this mess. So I'm trying to digitally declutter my life with photos, emails, etc. So that's a good way to do that. And you can see one is the digital declutter was done in the Mind Body Health Plan, and the distractions was done in the shopping list. So that good repurpose. We love to bring up this idea of glimmers, looking for things to counter things that could be trigger. It's noticing the small things of life, paying attention to the stuff that's already happening, like when you turn on a light switch, or it's a miracle that when we go turn on the shower, water comes out, right? Noticing those little things in our life, walking and paying attention to the plants you see or the colors that are in your world. So I highly recommend maybe putting a glimmer bingo somewhere or a list of things to look for. And then there's this idea of maybe 30 days at home self-care, but this is a repurposed mind body health plan. They're using it for a self-care tracker, and perhaps they'll be inspired by something from this 30-day list. Or you could do self-care mind, body, soul. And that looks like it's a repurposed shopping list, or maybe even a repurposed goals section for the week. And so really focusing in on self-care. So these simple things can inspire that. Again, we're all about finding flow. Another 30-day challenge on decluttering your home. A lot of us will put a cleaning list, the to-do list, the declutter list in our weekly setup. So here you can see many ways that folks have done that. We've got a daily declutter and clean on that habit tracker that's kind of in the upper middle. We've got the to-do list is got a little graphic there, wash walls, little watering can, all the little fun to-dos, but drew it in a fun way. We've got a meal plan over there on the right that's been repurposed as a decluttering plan. Bingos for this, and you can even see an intention has been repurposed to house management for decluttering and clean in small bursts. So, any of these spaces can be used that way on either page. Of course, we talk about the seven types of rest. This is going to be real important as we are thinking about flow and how flow fits into our life this month. So maybe you're lacking in a couple of these areas and you do a focus on sensory rest and spiritual rest. Or maybe you dabble in all seven and you set up your meal planner, like you see this example there. I love this graphic. When we should take a break is when we're trending to empty instead of waiting until we're all the way there. And then we're like, oh, why did I wait so long? Okay, so now let's look at these pages. We're going to find our flow state for our brain, and then I'll go back through all of these while you work on them. So we're going to be on pages 32 and 33 this week, and we always like to start with how do we want to feel? So we just did that check-in with our flow, with the imagining a river or this water flowing in your life. How do you want to feel this week? So find that word. Let's start off by claiming the week that way. You're welcome to drop your word in the chat of what you want to feel. Ah, I love whimsical. That's fun. A couple of we've already thought about the word enchantment. Maybe you want to feel enchanted this week. Maybe you want to find your flow. You want to feel the flow. Perhaps you have your word of the year. And we're going to take that now into our to-dos and our goals for the week. I'll show you a few examples of those. But please go check what you said in your start, stop, and continue space. Remember, we set that up and we set up our intentions. Those should be the foundation for the rest of the month. So they could inform how you answer that this week. And lots of us for our goals will just do three categories. There's a whole list there, and you just kind of plug in a thing that works for those. But we also want to think about how can I prioritize finding my flow? Remember all those eight things that have to come together for flow moments. Alrighty, and then I'm going to just scroll through. We've got some examples. There's the everybody's words here, and then they have their goals and to-dos. And some of these, the to-do list is completely separate from the goals. And some of these, the to-do list is tied directly into goals. You can see there's a bingo repurpose for the to-do list. The example on the bottom here has four goals for the week, and then they're tied directly into the to-do list and they're color coded. I also loved her words. They're all F words for the week, which I thought was great. And then we've got a little example of you want more of something and less of something. Again, the two more examples of how the goals directly inform the to-do list there. Also, there's little trackers on the bottom. You can see she's done some mini trackers under her to-do list. And then we'll finally look at that habit and activity list. And it could be that it's like this, if for top example, the only habit this week is checking the habit tracker, and the rest is covered with some fun stickers. Or perhaps your habits and activities could be repurposed with some mantras that you need to hear every day, some affirmations, and you say those and you check those off. Here are some examples. And remember, we were talking about finding those good endorphins and oxytocin, serotonin, the dopamine hits. There's two examples of how that's being tracked in the habit tracker. But you also might just want to find a five-letter word that fits for you. Like the example you see in the upper left, they're trying to spell out the word peace every single day that week. And if they don't do something, they just do a little heart, they acknowledge it. And you can set a number of goals, or you can just plain track it, put some washi tape, scratch out that. So it's really up to you how you set that up. And then we have some ideas there. So that's a lot of information. I'm going to go back to that whole bank of slides. We'll scroll through them one more time, and you can start working on this first page. Then we'll come back. I'll show you some from the second, and we'll look at that bank of slides again. All right. The good thing is this is being recorded. So if you missed any of these examples, you'll be able to go back and look at those. Now, let's very quickly, because we are short on time because I talk too much. We'll go through these. Here's a couple of examples of page 2 and the repurposing that folks have done. Now, you're welcome to use this page just as it is. Here's an example of a meal planner, but we know that that space often gets repurposed. Here is a way that Cassie and her spouse connect. She leaves this space for him to draw. But can you imagine maybe leaving this space empty for someone significant in your life, and they could write you little notes? It's a great communication tool. Yes, Beth Ann, I'll be doing this tomorrow morning as well. And this is going to be recorded, so you can grab that as well. Here are some more examples of that space. The Mind Body Health Plan, I always say, is our selfish space. And so here are some different ways that folks have set that up. They've done some repurposing, using those spaces as a bingo board, maybe building in a little tracker. I also like this bottom middle one. It's sort of like a menu. And so it says pick one and take what you need. And so you could just draw a line on the day that those certain things happen. We've got a chore list. I love seeing chores in writing because then it means it's going to happen. And then there's that shopping list that can be used as a shopping list or repurposed. We love the grid there. So that's so amazing for that. A lot of us will use that as some kind of a tracker, or you can see like AM and PM routines are there. I always use mine as a bingo board. And then there are all of these slides again. So I'm so sorry I've kept you over class, but I'm hoping that you were able to grab some screenshots or get inspired for this page or any of these pages. I would love to see, I'm going to just scroll on through so we can close out and y'all can get on with your day. Thank you for that patience. Also, make sure, drop in the chat, what are you loving this week? Be sure that you fill that out. That's an important thing. It's kind of like the big rows of the week. And then we want to see this in Sonder Club. And I'm going to do this again tomorrow morning. So hopefully you can. I love that. Joanna's loving life. Again, I'm sorry we got a little crunched at time at the end here, but the content will still be there. You can go grab the YouTube and freeze it on the slides you need to see. Be sure again to sign up for that mid-year reset. Katie's dropping all the links in the chat. We also would love to encourage you for that clarity reset, especially if you're feeling like your flow and your energy's a little off. This might be just what you need. And then there's my playlist for the day. And thank y'all for hanging out and being there for each other. I send you lots of light and love. Have a great week, Sonder family.
I drive a beat up car, a caravan, the color blue. Reminds me of your eyes and all the places we've been to. We're tethered to the leather, searching for a better view. It's interstellar when it's me and you. We're taking off. We're taking off. This is what I live for, baby. You're my open road. You can take me anywhere the wind blows, right into the great unknown. We can throw our hands up out the window. This is what we live for. We look up at the stars, a perfect night to dream with you. Got 90s retro.